So today I want to talk about drugs and other activities that a 21st century man partakes in. My cocktail of choice at the moment is just a little bit of Mary Jane and some coffee every once in a while. And thankfully, I live in a legal state. I used to live in a non-legal state, and it was always just a hassle getting having to go over. I had to drive a town over just in the middle of a small farm town community and meet this guy, and it was fine. I got to know him. He's a nice enough guy, but it was just inconvenient, I suppose. But in retrospect, honestly, I kind of miss that. I kind of miss that interaction every couple weeks and going to his house and talking about different things happening in the world. We had a similar viewpoint on the world. Funny how that works. That could have been me, a 21st century man in a different life, dealing drugs out of his house just for supplemental income. You just got to be in a non-legal state. I wonder if he prays every day that it just remains illegal. It probably does. He doesn't want to get taken out of business by the government. Anyways, I live down here in a legal state now, and I've honestly kind of tried to cut back on it because here's the thing. Coffee, even unless I'm working at my job, which I definitely need coffee to be able to keep the Joker smile going and the upbeat attitude. If I didn't have caffeine, it would be a disaster. And I already have moments of disaster at the job, but you've hopefully already caught some previous episodes on, which is going to be a recurring talking point, of course. But if I didn't have caffeine, I couldn't get through a lot of the shifts. But when I'm just drinking coffee, like on my day off here, it makes me, I honestly don't really even like it. It screws my brain up. I get anxious and paranoid, and then I put weed on top of it, and it's just, honestly, mixing the two is not a good time. It used to kind of be a nice cocktail for me when I was really, really struggling. My brain was split in half and broken, and because I was heartbroken and family deaths, and my dad passed away, and a girl ended up choosing a different dude over me, and I was reconciling with the past. This is a couple years ago. We'll get into it someday. There's some interesting tidbits in there. But I was, smoking regularly then, where I was acting a fool, driving around, smoking it because I couldn't smoke in my apartment. Or if I did smoke in my apartment, my upstairs neighbors would start pounding, and they started sliding chairs around. It was kind of funny, honestly. I didn't even react. And most of the time it wasn't me. It was the place next. It was the apartment next door or across the hall or down the hall. But they took it out on me because they could smell it directly sometimes. I'd blow it out the window. Anyways, I kind of just figured, well, if someone else is doing it, what's the harm of me doing it? But most of the time I'd get in my car and I'd just park, smoke and park in my parking lot. But sometimes I'd drive around like an ass and just smoke and smoke and smoke and smoke and smoke until I could kind of calm down a little bit. It definitely helped me get through some tough times, but I'm also wondering, like 4 years after the fact, if I just fried my brain. Because a 21st century man used to be very intellectually curious. I like to read a lot, and I still do, but I don't have time as much, but that's what I do in my free time. Straight up 100%. I was doing that in my free time. And I was always, reading stuff online, watching stuff online that was intellectually stimulating, trying to learn. And I'm not as interested in that anymore. It doesn't really even trigger my fancy. It's more of just, I don't know. It's because of life, I guess, too. But there's something in there too. I can't say that it didn't have an impact on my brain and doesn't have an impact on my brain. It's a drug. Of course, it's going to have a negative impact on your brain. I guess just like coffee, even though they say that's pretty good for you, but it's not going to be 100% good for you in every single light and day. No, well, actually, a 21st century man, coffee's 100% good for you, and so is Mary Jane. It's been proven over and over again, and just because I smoke every day doesn't mean that there's some negative consequence going on in my brain. All right, you know what? Dear listener, if that's your thought, that's fine. But it's a bunch of nonsense. Because any other drug, right, gonna have a negative consequence on it. And you could say caffeine and even Mary Jane have had positive impacts on my life. I will say that. It got me through college. It gets me through the work shifts. It makes me, there's positives to it, but there's also blood pressure issues, heart rate issues, especially if you're abusing it. And for a while there, I was definitely abusing it, especially coffee. I was drinking coffee 24/7. But I've slowed down a little bit, and I don't know. I'm interested to see how I keep going with this, because I've never drank pop or soda, depending on where you are in the world. I got roasted at work for calling pop instead of soda. Like, because it's a Midwest thing to say pop. I'm going to have a pop, and I'm going to have supper instead of dinner. And people from the Southwest here just visibly disgusted, roasting me for it. And I was like, you know what? You guys. Anyways, so I've stopped smoking as much, and honestly, it makes me so paranoid now, and it always has made me paranoid, but it's ratcheting up almost. And it's not, you got to pick the right strain, man. You got to pick the right strain. What's the THC to CBD ratio? Or actually, you should just smoke more when you're not smoking enough. When you take 1 or 2 hits and you get a little paranoid, you got to smoke through it, man. Shut up, dear listener. Shut up. No, everyone's different. I get paranoid sometimes. It has 100% direct correlation with how my life is going. And, well, to be honest, as a 21st century man, life is not getting better. And I'm not hiding behind a college program that, how's school going? Oh, it's good. Just passing the time, avoiding the inevitable, having to get a job I don't want, etc., etc., etc. Having to be a 21st century man who can't afford to be a 21st century man. Yeah. So, I mean, just the inevitabilities and the consequences of life have led me here, and I've also stopped boozing, which I mentioned earlier, and I would recommend that to anybody out in the world, because it's just so god dang expensive. God dang expensive. I mean, smoking Mary Jane, it costs me I spend $40 every couple months. When I was smoking a lot, it was probably $100 a month, if not more. But you could spend $100 on booze in a weekend, especially if you go out, right? And it's a of a drug. I've witnessed over the years, and now it's a straight up ruined some of the people's lives that have been in my circle, and they're not even 30 years old now. They're just getting into their 30s, and their lives were already ruined a couple years ago. Made terrible, terrible decisions, and that's coming from me, a 21st century man who's starting a YouTube channel talking into a microphone. That's coming from me saying, hey, you're making bad decisions, person. Dear listener, if you're listening, you're still boozing, you're wondering, hey, should I stop this? It's getting a little expensive. I feel like crap all the time. It's ruining my personal relationships. Or I'm in a personal relationship and my wife or my husband's kind of side-eyeing me, giving me snide comments about drinking too much. Because you just become a completely different person. It's the drug that I witnessed it even with my roommate. I mean, God bless him. And my former roommate's really, that's a story for a different day. He is straight up in the loony bin almost. I think he's there. He's that screwed up in the head, and alcohol is one of the key factors in that. He would binge drink and couldn't stop, and then do stupid crap, and enter sides of his personality, dark sides of his personality, or repressed sides of his personality. That's how he was able to enter those modes, was through alcohol. And instead of doing it sober and more healthfully, for lack of a better term, more healthily, he would have to get super effed up on booze and spend all of his money that he didn't have, and then also just completely turn into a completely different person. I think the word grandiosity is pretty apt. I know that's a psychological term put in with narcissism and psychopathy and blah blah blah, which you can't escape. That if you're on YouTube nowadays, you can't escape that keyword, narcissism. It's everywhere. It's the hot topic. But I think, hey, dear listener, if you're struggling with booze and you can't stop, there's something there with narcissism, grandiosity, just the feeling, just the ability. You feel so low in your day-to-day life that the only thing that can get you up, right, is to drink or to smoke weed. They do call it getting high for a reason, baby. I'm feeling so low, I gotta get high. Yeah, I can't talk much. It's not like weed was doing me any favors either. An old man, like, it helps me be creative and stuff, and I just opens my mind, and yeah. Okay. You know, maybe. I think dabbling is always interesting, and probably the correct mode of doing drugs in general. But I was smoking every day, and really the past couple of weeks, at the end of the day, I at least have a puff, and it's pretty much every time I regret it, and at least the going up part, the going up to getting high part, where you're like, you take a hit and it's just like, okay, I feel it, and then you feel it, and then ooh, here we go. Remember that one time when you did that? That was dumb. Hey, the 21st century man, what the heck are you doing, dude? What? You're so mean to people. You're rude. You're an asshole. You treat people poorly. These aren't the thoughts I have in my sober times. A lot of it's not even true. But when you smoke, these are the thoughts that come up. And there's part of me that says, well, you smoke to come to these conclusions. Yeah, you do need to start treating people in your day-to-day life better and better and better. But that's all fine and dandy to have to help you get to an introspective place, which is what weed does. It opens your third eye, man. It helps you understand. There's so many videos on the internet where it's more harder drugs, where it's like, I'm just picturing a dude at like a music festival being like, I do shrooms because I was a sociopath before, and now I'm just like a lot more chill, and I'm aware of my surroundings and the environment and stuff. And yeah, maybe. Shouts to that guy. Shouts to you, dear listener. But doing it every single day and making it a part of your personality and a ritual, it's no bueno, guys. No bueno. As a 21st century man, let me tell you, I've been there, I've done it. It's just putting a Band-Aid over a gushing wound. And I'm starting to wonder if coffee kind of does the same thing. Coffee, I think, a lot of times I've noticed, like, because there's people, normal people, it's a normal drug you take. This isn't a hot take, right? Everyone's drugged up all the time on something. And a lot of it's just caffeine, which is a drug, and it affects your body, and it affects your mind, and it changes your surroundings and your perspective, man. But we don't think of it that way because it's mostly just you get a little crazy-eyed, a little energetic, and it gets you up and pumping, and it's like, I need to do a workout. I'll have some caffeine. Great. But what I've noticed with caffeine is there's this, I don't know, it's for people who, I've noticed that people who struggle with alcohol also struggle with caffeine intake because it sort of serves the same purpose. There's like a dry drunk phenomenon, which is, I've witnessed plenty, having been part of a family of alcoholics and alcoholic adjacents, and then just friends growing up and stuff. But it's a coping mechanism when you can't drink, but I still think it brings out grandiosity. It brings out here I am talking into a microphone like you, dear listener, give a crap. You know what I had? I had a cup of coffee a little bit ago. I had the thought, you know what I need? I need a cup of coffee to help me get through this. And you can probably hear it in my voice. It's blah, 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 blah. I feel grand. But not really. It's just the coffee. Blame it on the coffee. That's what we should be saying. Instead of blame it on the blame it on the coffee. So true. That's a good point, 21st century man. Are you okay? How much coffee you had? 1 cup. Not even half a cup. I'm sweating. Oh, well. It's just part of the world we're living in, baby. You gotta have a little coffee to get through the day. They got the drugs just right, and I'm not gonna stop anytime soon. Because I don't think I can. But I'm not gonna stop coffee anytime soon. I've definitely stopped consumption, keeping it to a cup, 2 cups max a day. So really, that's not that bad. It's just the weed, the pesky weed, man. Because then I'll watch a movie at the end of the night with my roommate, and he's a big stoner, and that's not really relevant by any means. What his actions are shouldn't really impact me, but there's been moments in my existence where I'm super high. It's mostly when I was younger, and I'd watch a movie like Ex Machina. Great movie for a 22-year-old that's just getting into weed, right? Well, this robot, man, the computers are coming to life. Oh shit. 100%. That was me on some couch in my buddy's basement when I was, 22, having smoked out bat, take one rip, and it blew my mind. That's what weed is for. But then it turned into, like I said, a Band-Aid on an emotional wound. Wounds. And the same thing's for booze, right? It's just my body never agreed with booze so much. As I had plenty of fun with booze when I was younger and made plenty of terrible mistakes and just bad social interactions because of it, but I got off the gravy train pretty quick. But it still gave me feelings of superiority, of grandiosity. It was the only times I'd talk to women. Welcome to a 21st Century Man's YouTube channel. The only time I talk to women is when I'm drinking booze. 100% true. That's 90% of the people. Right? so messed up in the head, so shy, so beaten down by existence growing up that booze was just the outlet. Booze was the outlet to having a little ounce of fun in the moment, to just break the monotony, not even break the present moment. In many ways, it's like a vehicle to get more present, because the things that are not allowing you to be present in the moment, and for myself, the 21st century man, being at a house party or whatever in my youth, the only way we'd really have fun is if the drinks were started to flow, and then this board game became fun all of a sudden. Why did I need booze to have fun all of a sudden? That's tragic, but it's existence. Welcome to the 21st century. Welcome to the 20th century, the 19th century, the 18th century, 17th, 16th. This is a human condition. And, here's the thing. Breaking apart from this human tradition as a 21st century man has led me down the road of loneliness and speaking into a microphone. Alrighty, with all that said, we've reached our time limit here. And, I guess I'm off to the liquor store.